The Invest in Her podcast is brought to you in part by Wells Fargo Bank. Hi, I'm Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation. I'm also the podcast host of Invest in Her and an award-winning producer, author, and TEDx speaker. Our show, Invest in Her, features phenomenal female founders and funders. As you know, women receive less than 2% of venture capital funding. Our series is about accelerating the funding of women by connecting them to funding resources. Let's meet today's guest. Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors, co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, and more recently, the producer of Show Her the Money. We are also launching a fund called Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund. And as you know, on Invest in Her, we always have amazing guests. Today, we have the North America Small Business Lead for Mastercard, the amazing Ginger Siegel. Welcome to the show, Ginger.
Thank you, Catherine. And when someone amazing calls you amazing, it's a good day.
It is. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about how you got involved with Mastercard. I know, your background is, 30 years in leadership for big banks, Citigroup, PNC, Sunbank, and then made your foray over into, leading all of North America for small businesses in Mastercard. So I want to talk about where you started out and how you got to where you are today in this amazing position.
No, thanks, Catherine. It's really funny. When I do mentoring for businesses and women, I always talk about my very unusual path to where I got. And, believe it or not, it started out of school. I actually started my career with Eli Lilly and Company, and I was in pharmaceutical sales. And I actually worked with doctors, taught them about different drugs. And then I was there for about 8 years. And one day, out of the blue, I got a phone call from an executive recruiter who said that a major financial institution wanted to start a healthcare division. And that started my foray into banking. And that was actually a bank called Citigroup, which at the time was the largest global bank. And I started their healthcare division, which was working with doctors and helping them with their banking.
Oh my God, that's so interesting.
I think what's cool about it is that you just never know where you're going to end up. If you would have told me I was going to end up in banking, because then from there, I went on to lead small business at a number of banks, to your point, SunTrust, PNC, and then ultimately got to Deloitte, where I led their small business practice. And I was doing a project for Mastercard for the now CEO. And the rest is history. They saw my background in small business. And so I just encourage everyone to not just look at a straight career path. The zigs and zags are what makes it really cool.
I think that's what makes life so exciting. We don't know what's down the road. We think we have a plan, and then something even bigger or more amazing comes along, right? And so if you'd told me, 20 years ago, I'd be making a film about venture capital, I probably would have just said, well, great, what's venture capital? So I know what you mean. And so where did you start out? Where were you born, Ginger?
So I was born, actually, I'm a Chicago gal, and I didn't move to New York till 2003, but born and bred in Chicago, on the kind of North Shore of Chicago, lived there my whole life, met my husband at University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana. We ended up ultimately getting married. And really still stayed in Chicago. We had 2 children there. And then ultimately, I got a job opportunity. I was with Citi, and they said, hey, we want you to run small business for the entire United States, but our headquarters is in New York. Interestingly enough, my husband is a musician-composer and had been told that if you want to do Broadway, you've got to be in New York. So we moved. And who knew? We've been here now since '03. It's been wonderful. And it was a great move for him because he developed a lot of contacts and worked with a lot of really cool composers, and then I was able to build my career and ultimately end up at Mastercard, which is in New York.
Oh my God, I love that story.
Isn't it cool?
And I'm such a big Broadway fan, so I have to meet your husband. That sounds amazing. I'm actually working on I don't know if I told you this, a show. A friend of mine wrote the music, and
you did?
Yeah, it's coming to LA in September, and then we hope for it to go to Broadway. It's called Millennials Are Killing Musicals. So we'll have to put them in touch.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And all female driven, all about women. You know me, if I'm getting behind a project, it's somehow about moving women forward. So in this case, a woman, producer, director, creator of the script, the music, and an almost all female team behind it, which is unusual on Broadway, right?
It's very unusual.
Yeah.
And, you and I've talked about just some mutual people that we've met because of my husband's career. But one of the things I love about you is that you have set a path for yourself to help female entrepreneurs, and you've stuck with it. And that's why I feel really grateful to be at Mastercard, because although we work with all small businesses, through our partners, we have been able to focus on the underserved small business communities, female, Black, Hispanic, LGBTQ, veterans. And it's really been wonderful to be able to work with those specific communities that sometimes need that extra boost.
I love that. And I know you are a dynamo leader in this arena. And I don't think a lot of people, the entrepreneurs out there, understand all the products and services and programs that Mastercard brings to the table. So I wanted to make the show about that, because we try to make the show about providing resources and information to help entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, to flourish. So let's talk about that. I know you're super excited about these programs. Let's talk about all the things that Mastercard brings to the table.
No, thank you. Well, maybe first I'm going to do a little Mastercard 101. So
yes,
a lot
please.
of people think that we issue cards, and we don't. We work through partners. So our direct customers are banks, different merchants, fintechs. And what we do is we build products and services to put the wind at their back so they can serve small businesses. So we are very focused on a couple different areas. One is access to capital. Catherine, this is something you know very, very well. But there's a lot of businesses out there that are not ready for a venture capital or an investment like that. And so simple things like getting a small business credit card. It's super important, Catherine, that a business separate out their business and personal expenses, because when they are ready to go to a bank, we want to make sure that they are looked at as a business and not mixed up with their personal. So we build wonderful credit card programs with really great benefits that are offered through our banks. And we have things like benefits that gives them discounts on Intuit programs, QuickBooks, TurboTax, Lyft Airport, Instacart for Business, a lot of different benefits that are going to actually help them run their business. So our card programs are super important, very successful, and we have banks that issue those cards. Then we decided one day that during COVID, it was a really, really difficult time, as you know, for small businesses. So we said, what could we do to help small businesses? So when COVID hit, a third of the 33 million small businesses in the U.S. did not have a digital online presence. So we said, how could we help? Because their storefronts are closed down. All you had to do was walk down Main Street and you could see how difficult it was for these businesses. So we developed a program called Digital Doors. And Digital Doors is a program that we offer through our partners, but also direct. If you Google Mastercard Digital Doors, it has a number of really cool tools, many of which are free. Number one is there's a test, 17 questions that a small business owner can take. It asks them about their safety and security, their financials, their strategy. Do they accept digital payments? And after they take the test, they get a score. and they're benchmarked against other small businesses. And then Digital Doors will actually make recommendations. So within that, we have a lot of access to different capital programs. We have a number of different partners on Digital Doors that actually will help small businesses get credit. We don't issue credit, but we actually help them to do that. We have brought on a number of really, really great partners that are either focused on the English-speaking small businesses, but we also have a Hispanic version as well. It also has fantastic marketing tools, free tools where small businesses can create their own ads. And one of the most important things, Catherine, for small businesses is protection against cyber attacks. Over 50% of cyber attacks are happening to small businesses today. And the average cost is between $100,000 and $200,000. So if you're a business that does $500,000 in revenue and you get hit with one of these, it could wipe you out. So we have a number of free tools through our partnership with the Global Cyber Alliance. So the net of it is we've brought together a lot of things that can actually help a small business run their business, get digital. Over 75% of consumers are shopping digitally. I think Black Friday, we just came out with our spending pulse results, which is a really cool tool that we provide that talks about spending. People actually bought almost 4% more this Black Friday, and a big part of that was done online. So I think overall, we focus on tools that small businesses may not get on their own or know where to go to.
So let me ask you this. If I'm a small business owner, the first thing I can do is go Google Mastercard Digital Doors, get a rating that is going to help them perpetuate being able to work with banks and get support, and then finding out which banks actually offer these Mastercard business cards that come with all of these benefits, right?
That's exactly right. And I think, when you think about access to capital, there's a lot of different things. Many businesses have a bank. Those banks can provide term loans for equipment, lines of credit. There's also, of course, angel investors. There's the great work that you do from a venture capital. But look, we know today, which is why what you do is so important, only 2% of venture funding is going to women businesses. And we also know if you're a Black-owned female business, it's like 0.002.
But I want to interject. We are going to change that.
We know it, and that's 100%. Why we love partnering. It's totally. And you're already changing it. Your movie alone, which, by the way, I loved the movie. It was fabulous.
I'm so glad.
But the movie alone really is going to push so much of this forward. And that's why in my job, I get a really, really great opportunity to partner with people like you that are going to further the cause for these businesses.
And like you said, yes, it's true. Not every business is scalable that needs venture capital, but it's also something we can't ignore. So I'm so glad that we're talking about it and getting more people to talk about it and getting more women to invest in it. That will be monies utilized to invest in overlooked communities, into women and BIPOC and LGBTQ that otherwise would not be getting funding to scale their business. So it's just one aspect of getting funding, but it's a very important one that we've been left out of. And I'm so happy that together we're shedding light on that. I mean, Mastercard did team up with us to do a screening. I'm sure we'll do more, and we appreciate that because that's how we get the word out for sure. With, women coming into trillions of dollars in the coming decade, it is important that they understand this asset class as an investment opportunity to help make an impact, as well as, making returns, which is so important to do both, right? But you're right. It's so important, too, that entrepreneurs understand these like Mastercard benefits and these banking benefits through Mastercard that will help them with everything from lines of credit, like you said, to loans for office equipment, things like that. And then also, I always like to include in that mix, besides bank loans and lines of credit, that yes, angel investing is a great way for a small business to help build itself, especially if it's a partner that brings something to the table that they otherwise don't have. I always say that makes the best angel investment, right? When they're bringing something more than just a financial investment. So all of those things together, I don't think any one source of funding helps every business. I think it's usually most businesses need a couple different types of funding to get behind them. But besides funding, how do you feel about in your programs even just the value of the connections, right? Like, you and I were chatting before we started this, and hey, who can we each connect to someone that's going to help further what we're each doing, right? I've always thought the magic in these partnerships is in how do we help connect each other to something that's going to help build that business, right?
Yeah, Catherine, it's such a good point. And when you were talking, I was thinking about the fact that, when we give money to small businesses, that's great, except if the money is given without education and connection. So that is why so much of we do is provide education through webinars, through things like this. I do a lot of speaking, and it's critical because many small businesses, they don't have a CFO, a CMO, a chief risk officer. They don't have the infrastructure. And so they really need support from an educational perspective. I mean, even just watching your film, the education around businesses starting up and the trials and tribulations that they have. The other thing is community. We have a small business community that we are building. I think currently we have about 6,000 small businesses that are a part of it. If you poll and do research on small businesses and you ask them what's the number one place they want to go to get support and guidance other than, let's say, their bank, it is other small businesses. And many of these businesses don't even really know, how do I even begin to be connected? And so we do a lot of work with not-for-profits like Axion, where we bring together businesses so that they can meet. We just got done doing some wonderful sessions to celebrate Veterans Day, to celebrate different holidays and cultural events where we bring together businesses. I'll usually do an interview with a small business from that culture, and then they also provide food, and it provides an opportunity to mingle and talk and really make connections. The other thing we're lucky, being Mastercard, is that we have partnerships with MLB and PGA, and we actually do contests for small businesses, and then the winners get to either, go to the All-Star game and bring their food truck, or throw out the first pitch, get money for a grant, and then they always get time with me for mentorship. So building the community and the education must go hand in hand, because small businesses, as you know, are already alone. It's a very difficult road. It's a very lonely road. And that is why providing the education as well as providing an opportunity for them to join a community is super important.
And when people do say that it's a hard and lonely road, I like to say, but look at all these resources, so it doesn't have to be hard and lonely. We don't think it should. We think it should be fun and amazing and feed your soul, right? So I'm an entrepreneur out there. How do I get involved in the Mastercard community and educational programs?
It's a great question. So number one is digital doors. A lot of our webinars are done through digital doors. The other thing is, send me an email. I'll give you my email, and then we can get people enrolled into our community. But Digital Doors is a great place to start. It's led by one of the great people on my team, Amber Dawkins, and we'll get people connected in. get people as a part of the small business community, and then they have access to all these tools. The other thing is keep a watch on Mastercard Small Business in general, the site, because that's where we post a lot of things about the contests that we're doing with Major League Baseball and some of the teams out there. We just did a big event at one of the PGA tours where we had 2 local small businesses in Atlanta. This was the tour championship. They applied for this contest. They got a $10,000 grant. We set up pop-up shops for them on the 11th hole. And then I spent an hour with them about their business. So we really do try to bring opportunities to the table. And one of the things I'm most proud of at Mastercard is, for us, it's not all about making the money, right? Like, these are things we do extra because when I joined the company 8 years ago, we decided that if we were going to really do the right thing, it was going to be about the financial part of it for the company, but there was going to be a big part of it that was going to be all around helping small business regardless of what we got. And the company has really built that out in spades.
And you know what? I get the impression that you really love what you do.
I do. I love small business. I mean, I'm out here on the West Coast visiting my daughter and family, and we were walking around town, and they have a huge mall out here, but I go to the small businesses, and what I like to do every time I go in a small business is listen to their story. I take a picture with them. I post it on LinkedIn because I'm very grateful to have a number of LinkedIn followers. But I think people don't understand, Catherine, you know this. Small businesses employ over about 75% of the people in the United States. It's not the big companies. And that's why when we saw during COVID, where a lot of these small businesses were going out of business, we saw unemployment go up. So people have to understand that if we don't support these small businesses within the communities, there is no community. And that's why I really try to practice what I preach. And, my husband loves a very, very big coffee chain, and I like the small places that I get to go to.
I'm with you. That is how we can support small businesses. And, in working with Mastercard and these small business programs, I bet you've seen it impact and have a lot of success with businesses, and that must make you feel, amazing.
No, you know what? When we work with small businesses, and I get such a wonderful opportunity to mentor one-on-one many of them, and I see their trajectory. Like, there's a shop called Blondery that is in a small town in New York. And we started working with her, got her a grant. And I pulled up LinkedIn yesterday, and she had this huge, cool ad where she's talking and showing her brownies in different locations. I mean, I got the chills because I'm like, whoa, you go, girl. Like, it was just so cool. So, yes, it is important. And I do work for a very big company. And the other thing I'll say is that, and I can say this because I posted on it, there's this whole thing about Small Business Saturday, and that bothers me because we shouldn't just support small businesses one day.
Right.
We should support them every day.
Right.
And every day in every way. And so I believe it should be always small business because we know that they're incredibly important. And one other fact is that we're seeing a movement to shop more at small businesses than even big box retailers. So it's working. It's working that people understand the importance of small business, and the work that you're doing to take these businesses and really blow them out. It's just a huge home run.
And, I just love that there's a big corporation like Mastercard that has people like you on the ground that are personalizing actually what this big conglomerate does, and actually putting a personal face and personal opportunities to those small businesses. So I really applaud the work that you're doing. You're a great representation of that. And I think it's really cool that we get to share today the personal touch that Mastercard has on small businesses, and hope that all of our listeners that are in that small business arena take advantage of that opportunity.
No, thank you, Catherine. And just so that everyone knows, I'm super accessible. Link in with me. You see my name there. And then we can set up time to talk. We can make sure that you have all the resources that you need. More importantly, I just want to thank you, Catherine. This is such a phenomenal opportunity for me personally and for the company that I represent. But most importantly is that this offers small businesses one thing that sometimes is hard for them to get. It's not capital, it's not resources, it's hope. And it gives them hope that there's so many people out there that have got their back and are putting the wind at their back, whether it's banks out there, our other partners, and particularly the work you're doing. So I'm truly honored to be on today. And yes, I am passionate about this. It makes my family crazy sometimes, but I don't care.
Well, for those of you just listening in, it is Ginger Siegel. You can look her up on LinkedIn. Of course, Catherine Gray. You can look me up on LinkedIn as well. We're all there hanging out on LinkedIn. It's a great resource for everybody to connect. And I know I'm all about how important it is to connect as a small business owner or a business owner of any size. The magic, the superpower is in the connecting. And so we're here for you, and we're so happy that you all are tuning in. Ginger, can we also find you on or the Mastercard program on Instagram and things like that?
Yes, you can follow Mastercard on Instagram. Has a really strong social media presence, and then definitely through me, whatever tools you need, we'll make sure that you have them, and we'll connect you to the right people. But yeah, Mastercard's super active. We're going to be launching a couple really cool small business programs this year, so please stay in touch. Catherine, thank you for just giving small businesses a chance. I just think it's fabulous, and look forward, Catherine, to many more ways that we can partner, but also helping all of your listeners.
Thank you so much, Ginger. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make it a great day. Make it a great week. Be sure to shop at small businesses and also check out our movie, showherthemoneymovie.com and Silicon Valley Women Founders Fund. We're out there raising money to deploy to women in tech and other genres. And we are just thrilled that you have tuned in today. We're